The rain didn't start as a warning. It started as a punishment. By the time Daniel Carter realized the storm was serious, the sky had already turned into a roaring ocean above the city. Lightning ripped through the darkness like something angry and alive, and the streets outside his office building were drowning under sheets of relentless rain. He stood in the lobby, soaked from running back in to grab his forgotten keys, when he saw her, Victoria Hale, his boss. The woman who terrified boardrooms full of investors. Standing alone under the broken awning, clutching her phone, her car dead in the flooded parking lot. She looked smaller than usual. If you believe kindness can change lives, if you believe second chances sometimes arrive disguised as storms, then take a moment right now to like this video, comment where you're watching from, share it with someone who needs hope, and subscribe to the channel. Stories like this deserve to be heard. Daniel hesitated for only a second before stepping back into the rain. Victoria Hale was known for her sharp suits, sharper words, and an icy composure that never cracked. As CEO of Hale & Rowe Enterprises, she had built the company from near bankruptcy into one of the city's most respected firms. Daniel had joined 3 years ago as a junior analyst, a single father trying to keep his head above water after losing his wife, Emily, to illness. He didn't expect his life to intersect with hers outside fluorescent-lit meeting rooms. The storm forced it. Her car wouldn't start. The parking lot was flooding fast. The roads were closing. Daniel knew that if she stayed there, she'd be stranded in a city that didn't slow down for anyone. He offered the only thing he had, his home. It wasn't a grand gesture. It wasn't heroic. It was simply practical. He lived 10 minutes away in a small 2-bedroom house. His 6-year-old daughter, Lily, was with his mother for the weekend. There was space, there was warmth, there was safety. Victoria hesitated longer than he expected. Pride had always been her armor. Accepting help wasn't in her nature. But lightning cracked again so loud it shook the glass doors behind them, and she nodded. The drive to his house was silent except for the rain hammering the windshield. Daniel felt the weight of the moment pressing on him. This was his boss, the woman who decided promotions, salaries, futures. Yet in that car, she was just a person shivering slightly in the passenger seat, drenched and exhausted. His house was modest, cream walls, a tiny front porch with wind chimes Lily had painted herself. The living room held more toys than decorations. A framed photo of Emily sat above the fireplace, her smile frozen in time. Victoria noticed everything. Daniel handed her a towel first. Then, awkwardly, he offered something more. A clean shirt. He didn't own anything remotely fashionable. Just plain cotton tees and old flannels. The storm had soaked Victoria through. Her blouse clung uncomfortably to her skin. There was no other option. He turned his back while she changed in the bathroom. He focused on making tea, steadying his thoughts, trying not to think about how surreal this felt. When she stepped out, wearing his oversized gray shirt, something shifted in the room. She looked human. The corporate armor was gone. Her hair fell loose over her shoulders. Her face, free of makeup, washed away by rain, revealed exhaustion Daniel had never seen in the office. She looked younger, softer, vulnerable. She fell asleep on his couch not long after, the storm still raging outside. Daniel placed a blanket over her and dimmed the lights. He didn't know what tomorrow would bring, awkwardness, gossip, regret, but tonight, none of that mattered. Tonight, he had done what anyone should do. Shelter someone from the storm. He didn't sleep much, not because of her presence, but because storms always unsettled him. The night Emily had passed away, rain had battered the hospital windows in a similar rhythm. It was the last sound she heard. Grief had turned Daniel into two people, the father who stayed strong for Lily, and the man who carried quiet cracks no one noticed. Victoria stirred around dawn. When she woke, sunlight replaced the fury of the night before. She sat up slowly, clearly disoriented for a moment, before reality settled in. She was in her employee's home wearing his shirt, wrapped in his blanket. Daniel expected embarrassment. Instead, he saw something else. Gratitude. She walked toward the kitchen where he stood making pancakes out of habit, even though Lily wasn't home. He had forgotten she wasn't there. Grief and routine sometimes overlapped like that. Victoria noticed the extra plate. He explained. And something changed in her expression when he mentioned Emily. It wasn't pity, it was understanding. That was the morning Daniel learned something he had never known about his boss. Victoria Hale had once been married too, and she had once lost someone. Not to death, but to ambition. Her marriage had collapsed under the weight of her relentless pursuit of success. Her ex-husband had wanted a quieter life, one that didn't involve endless meetings and late-night strategy calls. She had chosen the company. He had chosen to leave. Since then, she had convinced herself it was the right decision. Success was measurable. Love was fragile. But sitting in a small kitchen, wearing a single dad's worn cotton shirt, watching him flip pancakes with quiet care, she looked uncertain of that belief for the first time. The day didn't magically transform their lives. It complicated them. Monday morning at the office was suffocating. Daniel felt eyes on him. Had anyone seen them leave together? Had security cameras recorded it? He prepared for whispers. Victoria arrived an hour later than usual. She wore her usual tailored navy suit. Her hair was perfectly styled, her expression unreadable. For a terrifying moment, Daniel wondered if she would pretend the storm never happened. But during the staff meeting, something subtle shifted. Her tone softened. When Daniel presented his quarterly analysis, she didn't interrupt. She listened fully. When another executive dismissed one of his projections, she defended it, not because of the night, but because she finally saw him. Over the following weeks, their dynamic evolved carefully. Professionally, they remained respectful and appropriate. Personally, something unspoken lingered between them, an understanding forged in rain and vulnerability. Daniel struggled with it. He was a single father. His world revolved around Lily. He couldn't risk instability. He couldn't afford heartbreak. And there was another challenge: perception. If anyone suspected favoritism, Daniel's credibility would shatter. He had worked too hard to rebuild his life to let rumors destroy it. Victoria faced her own storm inside. For the first time in years, she questioned her priorities. The company thrived, profits soared. But success felt strangely hollow now. She found herself thinking about the warmth of that small house, the laughter echoing from Lily's bedroom when she visited one afternoon to return a book she had borrowed. Yes, she had visited, carefully, respectfully. Lily had instantly adored her. Children have a way of sensing authenticity. Victoria didn't try to impress. She sat on the living room floor and let Lily braid her hair. She listened to stories about school. She admired crayon drawings taped to the fridge. Daniel watched it all with a mix of fear and hope. Hope was dangerous. The real conflict arrived unexpectedly. An anonymous complaint reached the board of directors. It suggested an inappropriate closeness between the CEO and a subordinate. No evidence, just suspicion. Victoria was summoned for questioning. Daniel offered to resign immediately to protect her reputation, but she refused. For the first time in her career, Victoria chose something other than image. She stood before the board and told the truth. There had been a storm. An employee had offered shelter. Nothing inappropriate occurred, and even if feelings had grown afterward, they were human. The board warned her about optics. She acknowledged the risk. Then she did something no one expected. She announced a structural change. Daniel would be promoted to head of a new independent division, reporting directly to a separate oversight committee. Transparent, professional, ethical. It silenced the whispers, but it also created distance. Daniel worried the solution would pull them apart. Promotion meant more responsibility, longer hours, and fewer shared moments. One evening, weeks later, another storm rolled into the city, not as violent as the first, but loud enough to stir memory. Victoria stood outside Daniel's house again. This time, her car worked. This time, she came by choice. Lily opened the door and squealed with joy. Daniel stepped into the hallway, heart racing in a way it hadn't since Emily. Victoria wasn't wearing a power suit. She wore a simple sweater. She carried no files, no agenda, just herself. They sat on the porch as rain tapped gently against the roof. Lily had fallen asleep inside. Victoria admitted she was tired of choosing ambition over connection. She had built an empire but forgotten how to build a home. Daniel admitted he was afraid of loving again, afraid of failing Lily, afraid of losing someone to another kind of storm. They didn't promise forever. They promised honesty. They promised patience. And sometimes, that's stronger. Months passed. The relationship grew slowly, carefully, like something fragile being nurtured back to life. Victoria learned how to attend school recitals without checking her phone. Daniel learned that success and love didn't have to be opposites. The real transformation wasn't dramatic, it was quiet. Victoria started implementing policies supporting work-life balance across the company, flexible hours, parental leave expansions, mental health support. Her executives were stunned. But productivity increased, morale soared. Compassion, it turned out, was good for business. 1 year after that first storm, Daniel stood in the same living room, watching Victoria help Lily decorate a small Christmas tree. Laughter filled the house. The framed photo of Emily still rested above the fireplace. Victoria had never tried to replace her. She simply honored the space she left behind. Daniel realized something profound. The storm hadn't just sheltered Victoria, it had sheltered him. It forced him to open a door he had kept locked since the hospital room where rain once fell against cold glass. And now, standing in warmth instead of grief, he understood that second chances don't erase the past. They build gently beside it. Before this story ends, I want to ask you something special. If this journey of kindness, vulnerability, and courage touched your heart in any way, please take a moment to like the video, leave a heartfelt comment, and share it with someone who believes storms don't last forever. Your engagement helps stories like this reach people who might need hope tonight. And here is my special request. Comment the word shelter if you believe one act of kindness can change 2 lives forever. That first night when Victoria woke up in his shirt, neither of them knew the storm was only the beginning. They thought it was about rain, it was about rescue. Not the kind that pulls someone from floodwaters, the kind that pulls someone from loneliness, and sometimes all it takes to change a life is opening your door when the sky falls apart.